Next, we have increments of 3, where we'll break the scale into patterns of 3. We're going to use the F position for this pattern, and instead of playing the scale position all the way through, which can get redundant, what we'll do is we'll break it up, play notes 1, 2, and 3, 2, 3, and 4, 3, 4, and 5, 4, 5, and 6, and so on. Allow each note to ring out for a full count. This application is written in 3/4 timing. There are 3 beats per measure. A quarter note receives 1 beat. The count is 1, 2, 3. Here it is applied to 110 BPM. Breaking the scale into patterns of 2 strings, starting with the 6th, then 5th string, 5th, then 4th, 4th and 3rd, 3rd and 2nd, 2nd and 1st, and then in reverse. This application is written in 3/4 timing using 1/8 notes. There are 3 beats per measure, and 1/8 note receives half a beat, so the count is going to be 1 and, 2 and, 3 and. Here it is applied to the 5th scale position at the slow pace of 60 BPM. These applications are written out for you to get comfortable playing them on every string of your guitar. However, you probably will not use every string in a song because it would sound monotonous. The best way to use these applications is by mixing them up with others or mixing them with chords and lead phrases. For example, you might get an interesting song riff by mixing increments of 2, then 3, then 2 strings. The last application was called 2 strings. This one is the same thing, except we're going to go back 1 note. So we'll play strings 6 and 5, then backtrack 1 note, then play the notes on string 5 and 4, and then back 1 note, and then play the notes on strings 4, then 3, back 1 note, 3, then 2 and back, 2 and 1 and back. And in reverse, you play the notes backwards, going with strings 1 and 2, and up 1 note, then 2 and 3, and so on. This application is written in 4/4 timing, using 1/8 notes and a quarter note. There are 4 beats per measure, and 1/8 note receives half a beat, quarter note receives 1 beat. So the count is going to be 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4. Here it is applied to the A or 6th scale position at a slow pace of 65 BPM. Here's the same exercise but played with straight eighth notes. Here we're going to break the scale into patterns of 3 strings. We'll play the 6th, 5th, and 4th, 5th, 4th, and 3rd, 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and so on. This application is written in 3/4 timing using triplets. Triplets are eighth notes written in groups of 3. A triplet receives a third of a beat. The count is 1 anda, 2 anda, 3 anda. Here it is applied to the 7th scale position at a slow pace of 40 BPM. Here we'll play the notes on the 6th, 5th, and 4th string and then go back 4 notes. Then we'll repeat the notes on the 5th, 4th, and add the 3rd string, and then go back 4 notes and apply the pattern to the entire scale position. This application is written in 4/4 timing using 16th notes, triplets, and eighth notes. The 16th note receives 1/4 of a beat, a triplet receives 1/3 of a beat, an eighth note receives half a beat. The count is 1 E anda, 2 anda, 3 E anda, 4 and. It's a little bit tricky, you might have to listen to it once or twice and then try to play along. Here we go at a slow tempo of 40 BPM. Please take time to explore different rhythms and apply them to your favorite scale positions and applications. 3 strings and back 4 notes incorporated 16th notes, triplets, and 8th notes. This in any scale pattern or application can easily be applied to a straight duration. For example, here is the descending pattern played with 16th notes. Breaking the scale into patterns of 4, play the first 4 notes, then the next 4 notes, then the next 4 notes. This application is written in 4/4 timing using quarter notes. Here it is at 130 BPM. Here's increments of 4 at double time with 8th notes. Each note receives half a beat. The count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. To play increments of 4 using 16th notes, each note would receive a quarter of 1 beat. The count would be 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. To play increments of 4 in 3/4 time, you could play any combination of 2 quarter notes and 2 eighth notes. Using 2 quarter notes followed by 2 eighth notes, the count would be 1, 2, 3 and. Here it is at a pace of 130 BPM. Using 1 quarter note followed by 2 eighth notes followed by another quarter note, the count would be 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. And then you could reverse it starting with 2 eighth notes followed by 2 quarter notes, and your count would be 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3. Feel free to pause this video and explore different rhythms. Apply any timing to any note or groups of notes, and be sure to experiment with different timings on all applications. Here we're playing notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5. Basically, you're playing 4 notes ascending and then back 1 note. The pattern is written in 4/4 timing using quarter notes and eighth notes. The quarter note receives 1 beat, eighth note receives half a beat. The count is 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Here it is at 250 BPM with straight quarter notes in 5/4 timing or 5 beats per measure. Step down, step up patterns, starting with the step down pattern. Here we'll play our second scale note and then our first scale note. Next go to the third scale note and play the first, fourth then third, fifth then fourth, sixth then fifth, and up the scale. This application is written in 2/4 timing using quarter notes. There are 2 beats per measure. A quarter note receives 1 beat. The count is 1, 2. Step up is the opposite of the step down pattern. Here we're playing, say, notes 7 and 8, 6 then 7, 5 then 6, and so on. This application is written in 4/4 timing using eighth notes. An eighth note receives half a beat. The count is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. I suggested that you try playing these applications with different rhythms. Here are some basic principles to help you further explore timing. This chart will show you the breakdown of notes from whole to 16th notes in 4/4 timing, equaling 4 beats per measure. I'll play the rhythm on this chart using the open B or second string. For timing, a rhythm can use any combination of note types as long as the total count equals 4 complete beats. The following are some examples of rhythm combinations using half and quarter notes. Notice that each measure equals 4 beats. In rhythm 1, hold the half note for counts 1 and 2. Play a quarter note for count 3, play a quarter note for count 4. Total beats equals 4. Repeat this rhythm over and over again. It could be applied to single notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can apply it to scale notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Applications, chords, you name it. Here's rhythm 1 applied to an E major chord at 100 BPM. 2, hold the quarter note for count 1, half note for counts 2 and 3, hold the quarter note for count 4. Here is rhythm 2 applied to the notes E, F, and G at 100 BPM. In rhythm 3, hold a quarter note for beat 1, hold a quarter note for beat 2, and hold the half note for beats 3 and beat 4. Here's rhythm 3 applied to the power chords A5, G5, and F5. Eighth notes equal half a beat, so each count needs to be separated in 2 pulses. Instead of using basic count, 1, 2, 3, 4, eighth notes are counted 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, 4 and. The and adds the extra pulse in between each beat. In rhythm 1, the combination is half, quarter, eighth, eighth. Because the 4th beat consists of 2 eighth notes, it needs to be split into 2 accents. Instead of counting the 4th beat as 4, you need to count it as 4 and. Altogether, hold the half note for counts 1 and 2, play a quarter note for count 3, play an eighth note for 4, play an eighth note for and. Total beats equals 4. Here's rhythm 1 applied to increments of 4 in the A or 6th position. In rhythm 2, hold the quarter note for count 1, hold the half note for counts 2 and 3, and hold the eighth note for 4, hold an eighth note for and. Here's rhythm 2 applied to increments of 4 in the B or 7th position. For rhythm 3, hold the quarter note for count 1, hold an eighth note for 2, hold an eighth note for and, hold the half note for beats 3 and 4. Here's rhythm 3 applied to increments of 4 in the C or 1st position. This example uses half, quarter, eighth, and 16th notes. 16th notes equal a quarter of a beat, so each count needs to be separated into 4 pulses. In rhythm 1, the combination is half, eighth, eighth, 16th, 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 16th. Because the 4th beat consists of 4 16th notes, it needs to be split into 4 accents. Instead of counting the 4th beat as 4, you need to count it as 4, E, and A. Hold the half note for counts 1 and 2, play an eighth note for the 3 count, play an eighth note for the and count, a 16th note for 4, a 16th note for E, a 16th note for and, a 16th note for A. Here is rhythm 1 applied to the D or 2nd scale position. For rhythm 2, hold a quarter note for the 1 count, an eighth note for 2, an eighth note for and, 16th note for 3, 16th note for E, 16th note for and, 16th note for A, play a quarter note for the 4 count. That all equals 4 beats. Here's rhythm 2 applied to the E or 3rd position octave. By simple definition, a technique is a way to manipulate a note and make it sound different. To be able to play notes is one thing, but to move a listener or even yourself as a player, you need to do more than just play a note. You need to give it life. Although there is no substitute for soul, learning and using techniques will certainly help you achieve that status quicker. The techniques offered in this video are intended to give life to your music. As I progressed as a musician, I began to realize that a single note is just as important, if not more important, than any group of notes. Give your music life. Give each note you play an emotion. When you play the notes in this course, listen for an emotion or a feeling. They are not predetermined. There is no wrong or right emotion. It's open to what you hear and feel. This is what music is. And this is your journey to become a better musician. For this section, we're using a Zakk Wylde custom Les Paul, and we're playing it through the Valve Junior half stack with the volume way up at the 3 o'clock dial. And this is giving us a natural tube distortion. It's very loud. Our next technique is double picking. It's very basic. You're simply going to pick each note twice. Palm mute is achieved by resting the palm of your picking hand on the string you are picking. What I'm doing here is I'm allowing my pinky to lay down on the high strings in case I want to change quickly between strings during a song. Now you could also alter the duration of each note by moving your palm closer or farther to the bridge. Right here, I'm right on the bridge, but listen to what happens if I go up further away from the bridge. The symbol for using palm muting technique is a P period, M period, followed by a dotted line, and the dotted line will extend for as long as you are required to apply the palm mute technique. This combines increments of 3, then 4, except we're double picking each note. And we're also palm muting. And this combination is written in 4/4 timing using triplets and 16th notes. You might have to listen to it a couple times before you play it. Vibrato is excellent for building strength. It's achieved by continuously bending a note and returning it to its original pitch. To apply this technique, allow your thumb of your playing hand to hang over the neck, right above your middle finger, and use the appropriate finger to hold the note that you're playing, and bend or shake the string by twisting your forearm. If I'm not holding a guitar, it looks like this. You don't want to bend your wrist, and you do not want to bend your fingers. You just want to twist your wrist this way while holding a note. You might find it difficult to apply vibrato to your pinky. If so, substitute those notes with your ring finger by sliding it up to whichever note you want to play. Vibrato is usually difficult to achieve on the first string of most guitars. tones are non-scale notes played between scale notes. Passing tones may not sound desirable outside of a sequence, but they can be used to connect two scale notes. In this exercise, the initials P, T have been placed above each passing tone. Here's a combination of passing tones with vibrato. Play this exercise at a slow pace, holding each note for a 4 count. Bend the string for each count. We're going to play it at 125 BPM. The hammer-on technique is achieved by picking a note, then hammering to a higher note on the same string with your free finger or free fingers. You could pick an open note like this, open on the 5th string and hammer to the 2nd fret of the 5th string. Another way you can do it is pick a fretted note and just hammer on to higher notes on that fret. You can apply the sound level of your hammer-on by how hard or how soft you apply this technique. There's a soft one, and there's a harder one. Now here's an exercise that combines hammer-ons with passing tones and gives us a very rapid sounding musical movement. There is a slide at the end of the first 2 measures. The symbol for a slide is a slash with an SL above it. Slides are achieved by sliding your finger up or down the fretboard while holding a note. In the piece below, slide the 11th fret notes to the 12th fret on the 6th and 5th string. This combines hammer-ons and increments of 3. This combo gets a little tricky if you're not careful. The first measure is simple enough. You pick the first note, then hammer on to the next 2. In the second measure, you pick the 3rd fret and hammer on to the 5th fret. Then you have to pick the 2nd fret on the 5th string. For the 3rd measure, return to pick the 5th fret on the 6th string, then pick the 2nd fret on the 5th string and hammer to the 3rd fret. Take this technique in application slow at first, and once you get used to it, you'll find that you can achieve some lightning fast runs. Here it is at 165 BPM. Here are the octave positions for the scale patterns that we've already learned. The names of the notes and the fingerings for these positions are the same as you've already learned in section 3 on this video. The only difference is they are played 1 octave or 12 frets higher in pitch. To help you learn these new positions, try combining them with other scale positions in the natural scale. Also, try them out with your favorite rhythms, techniques, and applications. I'm using a Epiphone Future custom guitar. And the reason I chose this guitar for this section is because we have 24 frets on this guitar, unlike the other ones. And since we're playing octave positions, I'd like to be able to play as much as possible. If you have an acoustic guitar, it might be hard for you to get past the shoulder of the guitar. I actually come around when I play an acoustic and play as high as I can, but it takes quite the amount of dexterity and finger strength. So this section is mainly for electric guitar players. But don't cheat yourself. If you got an acoustic, go ahead and try it out. We're going to start with the F or 4th position at 170 beats per minute. These higher positions are kind of hard for me to get to, but I'm going to attempt it just for the sake of the viewer. The opposite of hammer-ons, pull-offs are achieved by picking a fretted note, then pulling the finger that you're using to fret that note away from the fretboard at a 45-degree angle, producing a lower pitched note on the same string, but without picking that second note. The note being produced by the pull-off can be fretted or open. So here on the first string, as a demonstration, with my 3rd finger, I'll hold down the 3rd fret, pick that note and then pull that finger away at a 45-degree angle, and that sounds my first finger, or the first fret being held by my first finger. You could do it one more time to go down to the E note. You can move them around. This is a combination of a hammer-on and a pull-off called a hammer-pull, or in reverse it would be a pull-hammer. You hammer to a note and you pull off. You could do it fast, you could do it slow, and then the pull hammer would be the opposite. Pull off and then hammer on. Pull off, hammer on. Fast or slow. Now, the reason I chose to play this section with an acoustic guitar is because I've heard a lot of players tell me that hammer-ons and pull-offs are more for electric players or electric guitars, and that is just totally false. Some of the greatest acoustic guitar players just tear up the guitar using hammer-ons and pull-offs. So I'm going to apply this section. Right now I want to show you there's two ways to do this. We're going to first look at the C section. And I should call that not the C section, but C position. And there's two ways you can apply the hammer pull to a position. First is you can use the proper fingering throughout. So here we go, playing C, hammer pull, to the D note, hammer pull, then to the next string, hammer pull, to the G note, hammer pull. And another way to do the hammer pull is kind of the cheater way, but it is in fact easier for a lot of people. We'll play the same scale position. You do the hammer pull with the index and ring finger, and instead of using the middle finger and the pinky for the D to E note, you just slide the index and ring finger up, and then back to the 8th fret for the next string, and then slide it up to the 10th fret, and then to the 9th fret, 10th fret, 9th, 10th, and then in reverse. So whichever one is easier for you, I definitely recommend trying both. It's a great exercise, if anything, just to strengthen up the fingers by doing it the traditional way. Now let's go ahead and play this at the 12th fret. We'll start with the E position. And I'm just demonstrating this up high on an acoustic to show you that it can be done. You can manipulate your hands to get up there and get higher notes. So let's go ahead with the hammer pull, and in reverse it'll be the pull hammer on the E or 3rd position. Here's the hammer pull with increments of 3. For this combination, pick a note only when you change strings. Use hammer-ons and pull-offs for all same string notes. Here it is at 100 BPM. Slides are achieved by picking a fretted note and sliding it without releasing pressure. You can slide it up or down, but basically you want to stay on the same string and apply pressure as high or as low as you slide. Here we're going to play increments of 3, but on one string, and we're going to slide. Basically we'll start open, hammer onto a note, and then slide up to another scale note. That's 3 notes, 1, 2, 3. Then we slide back, that's 1, 2, 3, and then slide back, 1, 2, 3, slide back to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Here it is for you at a slow tempo of 125 BPM. This combination is great for working your way up and down the fretboard. By sliding to a 4th note on each string, you're moving up or down to the next scale position. Let's play it at a slow tempo of 160 BPM. This can be a great exercise to get to know the fretboard. Instead of starting on the 6th string for an ascending run, start with an open note on the 5th or 4th string. Another idea for a descending run, start above the 17th fret on the 2nd or 3rd string. The most obvious place to start with a guitar solo is to start on the root note of the chord you're playing, but you can really spice up your leads by starting with harmony notes. For example, if you're starting a lead or solo over a G chord, the obvious starting point would be G. However, you can make your leads more interesting by starting off on the other notes like B and D that make up the G chord. So here's an example starting with a B note. And starting with a D note. And always remember, you're playing in a key based on your scale. Any scale note will fit in a passing sequence. Most will work if you hold them for a duration. Just stay within the scale and you'll always be safe. If by chance you do land on a note that sounds off, quickly slide, hammer, or play the next scale note and you'll be fine. This technique is called volume swells. It is limited to the electric guitar, giving it a violin or cello type sound. It's achieved by playing a note with your guitar's volume knob off, and then increase the volume while holding the note. You could also achieve this by hammering the notes. It's not going to be as loud as when you just pick them, but you hammer the note. Another technique to use with volume swells is vibrato. You could get an almost violin type sound. The lower notes will sound like a cello or a bass. And the higher notes you got a violin or viola. Music is made up of more than notes. Sometimes the lack of a note can make a piece stand out. Just as there are symbols for the notes you play, there are also symbols for the times when you don't play notes. These symbols are called rests. There are rest symbols for every note symbol. Here is a comparison chart for notes and their equal rests. In the first two measures, we have whole notes, then whole rests. Next are half notes and half rests, and the last two measures show quarter notes and quarter rests. On this screen, there are eighth notes followed by eighth rests, finally 16th notes and 16th rests. Here are some basic rhythms combining notes and rests. Repeat each rhythm over and over again until you're comfortable playing it. At first, apply each rhythm to one note. When you can play a rhythm smoothly, then apply it to chords and multiple scale notes. Here's rhythm 1 applied to the open D string. And now applied to an E chord. Rhythm 2 rests on the third count. Here it is applied to an E chord. Rhythm 3 rests for counts 1 and 2. Here's an E chord with rhythm 3. Rhythm 4 played with an E chord. Now let's play rhythm 4 to the E or third scale position. Here's rhythm 5 played with an F chord. Played with the F or fourth position. Here's rhythm 6 played with a G chord. Rhythm 6 played to the G position. And now rhythm 7 played with the A position. Here's rhythm 8 played with a B diminished chord. Here's rhythm 9 played with a C chord. Here's rhythm 9 played to the C or first scale position. Damping is used to end the duration of a note being played. For example, on the 6th string, play the 12th fret, and when the note is sounded, release pressure with your finger just enough so that the note is stopped. Make sure that your finger is still touching the string when you do so. You want to lift your finger just enough to stop the sounding. If you lift too far away, you might cause an unwanted note. Another way to dampen the string is to rest the palm of your picking hand on the string after the note has been sounded. So here's damping applied to the G or 5th position, but in the octave position, way up here. We're going to do it at 125 BPM. Harmonics produce a chime-like sound. It's achieved by placing your finger just above the indicated fret on the string you're picking. Don't apply pressure to the string, and do not allow any of your other fingers to touch the string. In fact, after the harmonic is picked, you can pull your hands completely away from the string. So on the 5th fret, we'll go ahead and lightly touch the 1st string right above the 5th fret wire, and then pull away. And notice the difference. Here's a fretted 5th fret, and here's the harmonic. Now, natural harmonics can only be achieved on the 5th fret, 7th, the 12th fret, sometimes the 17th, and the 19th. Actually, the 17th, it's hard to achieve on the 1st string, but it's easier on the other strings, but it's just not as loud as the other harmonics. You can also detect a slight harmonic on the open notes by just lightly touching the string above the nut. Listen to it without the harmonics and with the harmonics. Take some time to experiment with harmonics above other frets. You'll find that you could achieve harmonics in other areas on the string, however, they will not sound as clear as the notes that have been given.